Okay, here's our video on probability. And probability is just the chance that something can happen. And in probability, we use the word when something can happen, an event. And it's written like this in math. We'll say a probability of an event. And whatever the event will be, like the probability that it will rain, or the probability that some team will win. We'll use an example with flipping a coin. That's probably one of the easiest ones. So when we toss a coin, we want to know the probability, let's say, of getting tails. The event would be tails, right? So when we flip a coin, we have actually two possible outcomes. It could either be heads or tails. Right? So the outcome we want, in this case, let's say we wanted to get tails. So the outcome, the result, we want as tails. Now the event is all possible outcomes, heads or tails. So when we're doing probability, the first thing we'll talk about is theoretical probability. And that's just using math. There's other probabilities, experimental probability, which I'll talk about in the next video. So let's look at the probability of getting tails. We want to get tails. There's only one outcome that we want, tails. But there's actually two possible outcomes. It could be heads or tails. Right? So the probability of getting tails is 50%, or half. So we know that the probability is half, and half is 50%. Half of something, right? 0.5 is 50%. So the probability of getting tails is 1/2. Let's look at another one. Let's say a deck of playing cards. Let's say a standard deck, because there's different types of playing cards. So in a standard deck of cards, not including the Joker, there's 52 cards. What do you think the probability will make our event of getting a king, any king? Well, there's a lot to know on this one. First of all, you have to be familiar with cards. There's always 4 types of cards in a deck. So there's 4 kings in a deck. So the probability of getting a king, there's 4 outcomes, 4 favorable outcomes. But in playing cards, there's 52 cards. So the probability of getting a king is 4 out of 52. So in theoretical probability, we have the outcomes we want and all possible outcomes. Now, the probability of getting a queen is the same, 4 out of 52. Okay, let's look at another one in playing cards. What would be the probability of getting, let's say, a queen of hearts? Queen of hearts. Well, there's only one possible queen of hearts in the deck. So that's 1. And there's 52 cards. So the probability would be 1 out of 52. You can also use another one with dice. Right, let's use one die. So here's dice, right? Let's say we're just using one of the die, and I want to know what's the probability of getting a 6. You roll one of the dice. So if you roll one of the dice, you just want a 6, so there's only one outcome, and there's 6 possible outcomes, so it's 1/6. Now here's one with the alphabet. What do you think the probability of getting a vowel is in the alphabet? Let's say you had all the letters in the alphabet in a bag, and you went to pick a vowel. What would be the probability of getting a vowel? Try that one. Well, remember, probability of getting a vowel. That's our event. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. How many are vowels? Okay, well, there's 5 vowels, not including Y. Sometimes people say A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, but we'll just say without Y. So there's 26 possible outcomes and 5 favorable outcomes. So the probability would be 5 out of 26. Now, there's a term here called a complement. Let me give you an example. So the complement is not contained in the event. So let's go back to the coin. So if the probability of getting tails, the complement will be the opposite. It'll be not contained in the event. It'll be heads. The probability of getting, let's say, a queen in a deck, the complement will be every other card besides the queen. Let's say we're doing a probability of something happening in the week, and we're just saying something happening on Monday or Tuesday. Probability of Monday and Tuesday. So the complement will be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Everything that's not in the event. Okay, let's do another example. Let's say we had some shapes right here, and we'll make an event. We'll say the probability of getting a circle. What's the probability of getting a circle? Well, there's 4 possible outcomes for the circle. There's 4, and the total possibilities are 9. So let's say that all these shapes were in a bag, and you just reached in and picked out a shape. The probability of getting a circle will be 4 out of 9. Since there's 4 circles and 9 total shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 out of 9. The complement, what would be the complement? The complement is not in the event. Since circles are in the event, the complement will be everything outside of it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outside that are not circles. So the complement will be squares and triangles. That will be the complement. Okay, so on our next video, we'll talk about experimental probability.